Great, good second half. We finally identified a group that wanted to battle, show some toughness, and that's why we stuck with them, and that's where we turned the game around. Give credit to Quinnipiac for coming out early. You know, they had a lot of time to prepare for us. We were a little beat down, and third game in 4 days, and unfortunately, you know, we had some guys let that get to them, you know, and that's okay. That's what's good about depth. We found a group of guys that could battle and play the way we're supposed to. So proud of our guys' effort in the second half, and proud of you know, records never have ever meant anything to me. You know, we're 9-2, great. The big part of the season's in front of us, and we got a long ways to go. So.
Was this one of the better rebounding teams you faced?
Yep, they were second in the country offensive rebounding, so we knew that was going to be a key. And unfortunately, you know, you look at the stats from halftime, and our two leading rebounders, or three of them, were 3 yards. Langston, Trace, and Gary. And our bigs, you know, weren't competing on the glass enough. So second half, we did a much better job. I think they out-rebounded us by maybe 6 at halftime. So that shows you we at least out-rebounded them by 3 in the second half. But we shouldn't, you know, we shouldn't have to go into the locker room at halftime and go crazy to get our guys to play the way we're supposed to play. And we challenged them afterwards to get some leadership to step forward to make sure that doesn't happen. They should be accountable and holding each other accountable and policing themselves along those lines. And that's going to be a big part of how we progress moving forward. That and being more selfless out on the court.
Gary, this is the second game in a row you guys have really come out of halftime and changed the momentum and really kind of taken control of the game. What is it that's going on at halftime?
It's just we're just looking in the mirror. We gotta come out with that energy and that drive, you know, to jump on them early instead of wait for the first 20 minutes. You know, we're learning on that. We're gonna key on that coming into conference, and we know we're gonna have to put a 40-minute plus game together now that we're in conference.
Is fatigue a factor with this many games nowadays?
I don't
Shouldn't
think
be. Shouldn't be. We should be tougher than that. Strength and conditioning people do a great job. If it is, it's because we're not very tough. And, you know, we had guys show toughness, and we had guys that didn't show it, and we've got to get them better and get better as a team that way. I feel bad for Olaf. He's been playing really well, and he just got in foul trouble. He's not one of those guys, you know, that I'm referring to. He couldn't get in a rhythm. Boom, boom, foul. And then when we took him out in the second half, we got on a nice roll. So that was tough. But Olaf's been playing pretty well for us, and we know that he'll get some rest over the break and come back and play well for us when we start league.
Trace, in that second half, a lot of transition baskets. I know you enjoyed getting out there on the break. Was that really a tribute to the defense, or was the defense rebound a combination?
A little bit of everything, yeah. You know, we got challenged at halftime just to show some toughness and move the ball and, you know, play as a team. And, you know, we were passing the ball back and forth, and that's what was giving us open looks.
Wayne, what were the factors that really came together in those first couple minutes of the second half?
Well, like I said, it was just we needed to go out and impose our will, and we're supposed to do that from the start of the game. And unfortunately, this team, you know, we've only been playing halves. The good thing is we're finding ways to win, but we know that the price of poker is going up. There's no weak sister in conference. I think any team can finish anywhere from 1 to 12. I mean, seriously, it's as balanced as you know, I've seen, and I'm not just saying in my short time here, but I've been out west for a while. And we have to be a lot better, you know, if we're going to compete in conference. And we need to play 40 minutes of basketball. And that's my challenge to our leaders. It starts in practice, and then we carry it over to the game. And guys have to be more selfless. We've got a lot of guys that thinking their contribution is just on the offensive end, and we've got to. It should be the other way around. It should be on the defensive end and then making plays for teammates. And that's when you get to be really productive, you know, on both ends.
Wayne, did this preseason show you a lot about this team, what you wanted to see, the competition, Kansas? You played a strong schedule. Did this really prepare you well with your?
Well, I'm proud of them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we had a lot of adversity with Jarmal out our first 6 or 7 games, Daniel. You know, Daniel's, you know, playing one, like, you know, with one arm basically, but, and to be 9-2 is great when, you know, we play a lot tougher competition than we did a year ago. So I'm really proud of our guys, you know, for the things that we've done, but we have to stay humble and be able to admit that we're a long ways off. You know, defensively, offensively, sharing the ball, giving more of ourselves, competing on the glass. You know, we made a lot of mistakes trying to do it our way defensively, and it cost us in the first half. So we need to remove all that and do what we do for 40 minutes now. But that's the good thing, is we know we can play a lot better.
How do you handle the next 12 days?
Well, look, the guys have a break. They almost didn't, but then they earned it back in the second half. You know, we'll come back on the 27th, the late afternoon of the 27th, and, you know, do some conditioning that night, maybe have a couple of practices. And we've got some time to prepare for our opener. And, you know, the first few days are going to be getting the Beavers better. And as we get closer to the third, you know, we'll work on the opponent. So rest, recuperation, and then back to work. And we told the guys to enjoy the holidays. Christmas is a big time of the year for a lot of reasons. And, you know, however we celebrate our holidays, we need to do that and have fun and be with family, because that's important, and keep the spirit of the holidays, and then get back to work.
Coach, you kind of alluded to it a couple times, but how would you describe what you were like in the locker room at halftime?
No, we were animated. We were all animated. Got after the guys a little bit, and they accepted the challenge. And now we're challenging them to be that way, instead of us, you know, having to come in and climb all over them. We shouldn't have that. We got enough veterans. Man, we shouldn't have to do that game in and game out. So, I mean, we're willing to do it, but we'd rather it come from those guys. We'd rather not have to do it, because we're coming out at the tip, you know, playing our tails off and playing the way the Beavers are supposed to play.
Trace, how close was that effort and energy in the second half to what you guys want to be?
Really, that's what we got to be from the start. You know, I think we definitely shown that we're a second half team, but we know we need to be there for the full 40 minutes. And I mean, I think we can be like that for a whole game. You know, we got great athletes, and, you know, in good shape. But, you know, it's just kind of us willing to lay ourselves on the line and do that for a whole game, instead of, you know, just kind of starting off at our own pace and just, you know, being nonchalant. But, you know, I think it just shows that we can do that for a whole 40 minutes.
Go Beavs.
Go Beavs.